Hello, welcome to my computer animation and VFX research presentation for TB2. My name is Josiah Granger and my UP number is below. So this year I feel has been a very productive year for me. I've learned many new softwares such as Nuke and Maya that I previously did not have access to because they're not free. And I was able to transfer skills I knew from free softwares like Blender over to Maya, I felt. Pretty effectively. Some things are easier to transfer than others, like lighting is pretty similar and unanimous across most 3D softwares, so I was able to transfer that skill pretty easily. Same with UV unwrapping, but some skills were harder to transfer than others, such as modeling. Using hotkeys is a very big thing in Blender, and Maya doesn't really have that. So it was a bit of a challenge to initially transfer my Blender modeling skills over to Maya. However, now that I've used Maya a lot, I think I'd say I'm better at modeling in Maya than I am in Blender, which is really good because it's more industry standard. I've also been taught new modeling techniques that I previously didn't know, such as UV unwrapping and retopology. I've learned the importance of retopology and the theory behind it. I've attached here an image of the face retopology and learning the edge loops of the face when doing retopology, so that animation can effectively get, when a model is animated, seams and creases can effectively be created in the model, and it also allows for game characters models to be used because it's lower poly than the initial sculpt. I have also better improved my UV unwrapping skills over time, especially in TB2. As you can see below, I've shown a TB1 texture that I had where it looks very auto unwrapped and I didn't really fully understand seams, and then in TB2 I had a conversation with a course leader that helped me to better understand why UVs are important and where to create the seams for UVs. So there's a shirt I made and I was following the seams of the clothing to get a very high quality UV. I'd say my strength in Nuke was that I previously used compositing softwares in a professional environment, so I used After Effects on some work experience I did, and I've also used two other node-based softwares quite a lot before, Substance Designer and Touch Designer, which are completely node-based, so I had no issues with that. The only weakness in Nuke I found really for me was that it's a more technical program. It's a lot to do with project settings, and there's a lot of nodes that I didn't really know what they did, and there's a whole 3D aspect I don't still fully understand. I'd like to improve on in the future, and other terminology points like the black point and the white point that I had to learn over time. It just took a bit longer to adjust. The programs that I'd really like to improve on and learn in the future, so I can better get into the VFX pipeline, is Houdini. I'm really interested in simulation and 3D simulation, especially in films for VFX. And I've been teaching myself Touch Designer because it's created by Houdini and it's an offshoot of that. And I kind of want to learn to apply the skills from that into learning Houdini because they're both node-based. Same with Notch. Notch is just like a more advanced version of Touch Designer. That again I think would be really interesting to get some 3D projects in. It's similar to Houdini and it involves a lot of simulation, procedurally generated 3D artifacts, which is, again, I find really interesting and I think can be well used in VFX. And Cinema 4D is the other one I want to learn, just so I have a broad knowledge of all 3D software that are used in industry and used professionally, because I don't want to go to a job and then they ask, do you know how to use Cinema 4D, and then I just assume it's the same. It would be really good to learn that in the future. I'm interested in improving on Nuke just because it is very technical and there's a whole 3D aspect I don't fully understand yet, and I'm studying visual effects as a module, as an optional module next year. Unreal is another area I want to look into more because I chose the optional module of prop design in VFX, and also Substance Designer because I'm really interested in the texturing part of the VFX pipeline. My planning for implementing my work, I kind of just followed a structure where for the modeling module I did 2 hours once a week as recommended. Usually I try to do it sometime soon after the lecture so that I still had what I was learning fresh in my mind. And I also did extracurricular projects on the side for areas I especially struggled with, such as UV unwrapping. You know, it was really hard for me with my character. You know, the face is a really advanced thing to do retopology on, so I actually made a more stylized second character of Finn from Adventure Time based off a concept art from a friend. And you know, that allowed me to more properly learn UV unwrapping in a simpler environment, but it was still on a character model, so I could push that forward. And then for compositing, I completed weekly projects, and I completed the extra reading just before the lectures so that I was able to again keep it fresh in my mind before going to the lectures and then apply that knowledge to better understand how to work in Nuke. So for my modeling showreel work, I've chosen the two pictures in the middle, which are my TB1 robot inspired by Mac Dixon design, and my TB2 character modeling work. And to the side, I've included two additional artifacts which I've used in the past to improve on certain areas, such as, you know, I was struggling with modeling in the first toaster one because it had some more curved shape, so I decided to do a more advanced robot model with that really focused on the modeling aspect, you know, with this more complex rocket shape, and also the fin model, which again is a character model, but it has a more simple UV layout that I was able to unwrap a lot easier and retopologize easier. That helped me then apply that to my final character model. I've also chosen my compositing showreel work, which I'm yet to film, but I'm filming soon, and it's based off this reference clip from Atlanta by Jam Visuals, and I've gone ahead and made a tech visualization with annotations, and I've planned it out. So I have a camera pivot rig ready to recreate the shot, and I've researched, you know, how I think the shot was made, and what Nuke nodes I'm going to need to recreate it. In terms of specific details I've learned I think I've effectively learned proper professional studio lighting very well. You know, this is again another side artifact I used as a practice for my modeling module, and I, you know, tried to get a perfect lighting setup that I could kind of reuse and also understand, so I could apply it to different characters and see what lighting worked for it at the time. Again, on lighting, when we were asked to put our robots in a realistic environment, you know, I was gonna take a HDRI picture with a Theta camera. However, they didn't have them in the Lone Store at the time. So instead what I did, because the lighting was making the colors go off for the robot and matching it with the final picture, I went into Photoshop and I applied a neural filter to the HDRI so that the color from that HDRI was changed to match this original image. And then I think the result was more effective because now the robot does have very realistic lighting and a HDRI that basically matches its surroundings. And also I've noted that there was camera stabilization needed in Nuke for this turning shot because it needs to stay stable as it moves round. In terms of my workflow, I planned how far to step back when I was filming for the compositing, making sure my feet are placed in the same place every time when the shot cuts together, making sure the camera remains at my head height using the rig I built, and I made a tech viz to build that rig and explain why I'd need certain things in the rig. I've done sketches for all my modeling work. So the initial sketch up here is just for the proportions and to get the proportions right. I then did a more in-depth one on the face, and I was kind of going for a gorillas style, like the band. And then for my final one, you know, I found other concept art from for my diorama, Again, inspired by Gorillaz and the band Gorillaz and their surrounding artwork, and putting out ideas for a rough where my character would be placed for the final render, and yeah, then I went ahead and did different VFX pipeline methods to then create that. So using UV unwrapping, modeling, rigging, to kind of get these poses sat in the diorama. Thank you for listening, and here is all the surrounding work that I have done for my modeling, as well as the final piece here.